Hi there. I'm Dave Alberda, and welcome to Dynamic Mortgage Solutions. And who is Dynamic Mortgage Solutions? Well, we're a mortgage brokerage here in Calgary that opened up in 2012. There's a total of 3 of us that are licensed to deal in mortgages. And we are top volumes with many different lenders, about 16 of them that we're top volumes with, which gives us access to the best rates and the best products in the industry. On top of that, I even have one lender where I can get 1-year rate holds for new builds. Now, why that's important is because not everybody has access to that type of product, even the big banks. So it's something that is a little unique for us. So if you are looking at a new build, it's something that is a little bit different that we can offer. So who is Dave Alberda? So Dynamic Mortgage Solutions, like I said, we've been up and running as Dynamic Mortgage Solutions since 2012. But I have been a mortgage broker for a lot longer than that. So a little bit about my background first, though, is that I have been married for 14 years now, born and raised in Calgary. Married for 14 years. I have 2 kids, a son who's just turned 10 and a daughter who's turning 13. So that keeps me busy outside of doing mortgages. I spend a lot of time coaching hockey. I'm on the board of directors for our hockey association, and I do a lot of fundraising as well. Beyond that, getting back into the real estate side of things, I've been investing in real estate since 1996. That's when I bought my first house. And I say that's more of an investment than buying a home, because that's exactly how I treated it. I got roommates and actually ended up living there for free for over a year and a half, and then sold it at a 30% profit. So I learned very quickly at a young age that I could make money with real estate and how the market was working. Aside from the real estate side of things and back to mortgages or the financial services side of it, I've got about 21 years of experience in financial services in one form or another. 19 years of it has been spent brokering loans. So I brokered car loans for a very long time, and I've been brokering mortgages for a very long time. I also did 2 years in there as a financial planner. So I took 2 years away from brokering loans and started my education as a certified financial planner. I got licensed for life and disability insurance, mutual funds, and did some investment advising at that time as well. To become a mortgage broker, I had to get licensed through the Real Estate Council of Alberta, or RECA. That's the same thing as a real estate agent has to do as well, just slightly different courses. A lot of real estate law, ethics, advertising, that kind of thing. It's courses that you have to take. It's through Mount Royal University. At the end of the day, that's who it's all through. Once you've passed your exams, you then have to get licensed through a brokerage. So you have to find a mortgage brokerage that will hold your license to deal in mortgages. So it's a little bit different than becoming an employee of the bank. So to become an employee of the bank, I could just go and apply, get hired, and they would have hired me probably within a day and put me out on the road selling mortgages, because I already knew how to broker loans. But that's not the road I wanted to go. I wanted to become a broker so that I had access to multiple different products. So that's why I decided to get educated and get a license as a mortgage broker. So that process involved taking the courses, passing the exams. They do a criminal background check. And then I find a brokerage to hold my license to deal in mortgages. And the model that I went under is where I found a brokerage that would hold my license, and then I started building my own business underneath them. During that time, I got membership to an association called CAMP, or the Canadian Association of Mortgage Professionals, which is now Mortgage Professionals Canada. I also became a member of AMBA, so the Alberta Mortgage Brokers Association. Back through CAMP, I got an extra designation, so I continued my education. I became what's called an accredited mortgage professional, or an AMP. So that was just another level of education that they also insist that I do continuing education every year, and they have a different set of standards that we have to adhere to as well. So just another level of professionalism within our mortgage industry. So in 2009 is when I decided 2008 is when I decided to go about this career change and getting involved in mortgages. 2009 is when I got licensed and I started working within the industry. That first year, I wasn't in the business for quite a full year in 2009, but I still managed to get into what they called the Masters Club with a large network called Mortgage Alliance. That's where I started my career. The Masters Club just meant that I hit a certain volume of mortgages, which a lot of people in their career will never hit, and I did it in my first year. Because it wasn't my first full year doing mortgages in 2010, which was my first full year, I still qualified as a rookie. It was my first full season, if you will, as a mortgage professional. So I did win Rookie of the Year for Mortgage Alliance in that year, which was a kind of an interesting accomplishment. That year I also achieved what they called the elite level for mortgage volume. So it was another step above the Masters Club. And then 2011, I hit President's Club for volumes funded. So this isn't meant to brag or to boast about my accomplishments. It's just simply so that you know I know how to get things done. And that's the only reason why I'm able to get those volumes funded, is because I know how to get things done. I have a lot of experience behind me at this point. Probably funded over $1 billion worth of mortgages or supervised them in one form or another. So there's a lot of experience there. Now, as a mortgage broker or an agent, what do? We facilitate the mortgage between a borrower and the lender. We don't lend any money. We facilitate that transaction between the client and a potential lender. So I don't work for the bank. I work for my clients in that I get them ready to go. I get them pre-qualified. Then once we have a deal in place, I would broker that mortgage with the lender for them. Why that's important is if you go into a bank directly, by nature, because you're going into that bank and getting advice from that employee of that bank, it's very biased guidance and advice that you're getting, because all they can offer you is what they have to offer. Where I have 18, 19 different lenders that I could go to if I had to. So it's very unbiased guidance and advice. I can figure out what fits you the best. When I go to those lenders, after I figure out who fits you the best, I negotiate the rate, the term, and the conditions of the mortgage approval on your behalf. So I do mortgages all day, every day, whereas you might do one every 3, 4, 5 years. I obviously am going to know what is suitable in today's marketplace as far as conditions go. Are they asking for something that they shouldn't be asking for? Or did they miss asking for something that they're going to ask you for later and it might be too late? I can figure all that stuff out in advance and hopefully get all of those things sorted out in a timely fashion. So it'll save you a ton of time and frustration going down the road. The best part about all of this is that my services are free. It doesn't cost you anything to insert me as a licensed, educated, and experienced individual between you and the banks. The banks pay me for bringing them the business, even if it's your own bank. They will pay me for arranging this mortgage, okay? I use all of my past experiences that I went through with you as a brokering car loans, a financial planner. I did some other investment advising. I've bought and sold many houses. I have rental properties. I've been doing all this stuff for many, many years. I bring all of those experiences in when I take your credit application. It's not just as simple as what's your name, birthday, and address, and how much money do you make. There's more things involved where I can recognize opportunities. I can take advantage of anything that I can figure out in there to help make sure that you get what you're trying to get and get a positive result in the end. So from there, a lot of people will say to me, well, I don't really need a mortgage broker. My bank would look after me. There's big differences. I've already alluded to some of them. Firstly, that bank employees are not licensed by the Real Estate Council of Alberta. So they are employees of the bank. They're not required to go through the same education and training that I've had to go through. No education requirements whatsoever. A lot of times the banks ask when they're putting their ads in the paper or on the internet, wherever they're looking for employees, they want to see a university degree. And that's all fine. That's where everybody starts when they're going to hire somebody, is they want to see a university degree, but it won't be specific to mortgages. It might be a finance or some sort of business degree, but it has little to nothing to do with mortgages, guaranteed. I used to say all the time that they didn't do any criminal background checks. I believe that's changing. They are starting to do more of that kind of stuff. But I can tell you for sure that as a mortgage broker, we have to have the criminal background check done. More often than not, when you're dealing with somebody at the branch level for a mortgage, they will have little to no experience with mortgages. They might not even have a mortgage themselves. The problem with this is that when you're dealing with somebody in the branch, it's what they call a frontline position. So one day they could be talking to you about your mortgage. The next time you go in to apply for a credit line or a credit card or open an RSP account or a regular bank account, it's all the same person. So they don't specialize in anything. They're just collecting your information and then turning it over to somebody in the background that you'll never meet. okay? They cannot belong to the Alberta Mortgage Brokers Association, which is where we get a lot of industry information from, a lot of extra education. Same thing with the Canadian Association of Mortgage Professionals or Mortgage Professionals Canada now. They cannot belong to those associations. So they're missing out on a ton of information. They cannot get their accredited mortgage professional designation such as I have. So again, very biased guidance and advice. They're only going to guide you and advise you on what their employer can offer you, okay? The other problem is when you're dealing with the banks directly, they won't generally, if ever, go through all of the terms and conditions of their mortgage. And there's a lot of things about them that you need to know. First of all, is it a collateral charge or a standard charge, and why? Which one is better to have and why? Well, it's all specific to you as an individual as to what you need and why. Some of these banks, they'll only do it one way or the other. So you don't get to choose whether you get a standard charge or collateral charge, except for by which bank you decide to deal with. But you don't know that going in. Most people have never even heard that term before. Same thing with an interest rate differential penalty. They all calculate it similar as far as the big banks go, but there's also alternatives to that, where there's some banks that calculate the penalties on a fixed rate mortgage when you break them, if for some reason you had to break it early. And there's many reasons why this happens. But you just want to make sure when you go in and you get involved in something that you understand exactly how it works. They generally do not explain this unless you ask. And even at that, the information that you get back is very limited. I will spend the time to explain to you exactly how a collateral charge works, how an interest rate differential works, and let you know exactly what you're getting involved in. And then we can choose the appropriate lender based on what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. Again, back at the banks, they're not going to go through that stuff with you. Generally, they're going to collect your information. That is your application, and tell you, yeah, you're fine to go ahead and buy a place. And that will be the extent of it, unless you start asking these questions. But often we don't know what questions to ask when we go in to get a mortgage. If you've never done it before, have never experienced some of the things that could potentially come up, you won't know what to ask. Most people who have had multiple mortgages in the past don't even know what these collateral charges, interest rate differentials, these different things that we talk about, they don't know what this all means, okay? They've never run into it, or they still don't understand it. So all I would say is that now you know a little bit more about Dynamic Mortgage Solutions, and that we're a mortgage brokerage here in Calgary. We're small, family run. You know a little bit more about Dave, Alberta, and where I come from, what my background is. I just invite you to, take me up on a free consultation. We can sit down, whether you've got a mortgage that's up for renewal that you'd like to see what your options are, or if you're looking to refinance to pull out some money to do a debt consolidation or a renovation, or if you're looking to buy a new property. I'm happy to sit down with you, go over all this information, make sure you understand exactly how things are going. And if we decide we want to work together, that's when we'd worry about getting a credit application and pre-qualifying you for a mortgage at that point. So again, it's all free. Just give me a shout anytime or contact me by email. Thanks for your time.